Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Micha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So today I want to show you a game with a spectacular queen sacrifice from the second round of the 2025 FIDE World Cup. We have Pentala Harikrishna playing as white against Arseniy and Nesterov. Let's see what happened. Harikrishna started with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to f6, and we have Petrov defense. Knight to e5 is the most common reply, but white goes for d4, sharper continuation, knight captures on e4, and here bishop to d3 is a pretty modest continuation. Still, white captures pawn on e5. A very sharp continuation. Black responded with bishop to c5, targeting this pawn on f2, which cannot be defended by the way. Queen goes to d5. And now bishop captures pawn on f2, check. King goes to e2, losing the right to castle, but this is only the beginning. Knight on e4 is under attack, the only defender of bishop on f2, so black plays f5, defending. There's no point in playing e-pawn captures en passant, because then black simply captures on f6. King cannot capture bishop because queen is under attack, so after queen to e5 check, king to f7, and of course king cannot capture on f2 because knight to g4 would fork both king and the queen. So in the game, knight to c3 was played, and now black plays c6, attacking the queen, and here comes a spectacular bombshell. Knight captures knight on e4. Dropping the queen, so c-pawn captures on d5 and knight goes to d6 check, king goes to f8 and king captures bishop on f2. So white has two pieces for a queen, and this position has appeared a few times before, so it's nothing new, and Harikrishna even said in his interview that he'd prepared fresh ideas in this line, so this queen sacrifice wasn't improvised at the board, it was pure home preparation. Black continues with knight to c6, bishop goes to d3, and now black continues with d4, attacking the bishop. Of course, bishop cannot capture on d4 because knight recaptures, and white loses a very strong and very important bishop, so this would give the edge to black. And if, for example, knight would capture on d4, then f4 is a killer move, attacking the bishop. If bishop is removed, then knight on d4 is for free, and here black is winning. So in the game, bishop to f4 was played. Now black, even with the queen against two pieces, is not objectively worse, but the problem is his underdevelopment, and here black maybe could try with b5, advancing with b pawn. Even if knight captures on b5, then rook would go to b8, attacking the knight, opening the b file, and this would help black to develop his pieces. Instead, queen to b6 was played, blocking this b pawn, and this bishop on c8 and rook on 8 are going to stay there until the end of the game. So maybe this was already a fatal blunder for black. White continued with bishop to d3, attacking pawn on f5, knight goes to e7, defending pawn on f5. Now white is sensing that knight to d5 or knight to g6, attacking bishop on f4 is coming, so white plays bishop goes to d2, avoiding black to attack the bishop with tempo. Knight goes to d5, bishop captures on f5, and now knight goes to e3. Bishop goes back to d3, king goes to e7 out of this f file, and now white plays rook from h goes to e1. White is preparing a very nice combination. Black is continuing with rook to f8, and now white plays rook captures this very strong knight on e3. The pawn of course recaptures as there isn't any other option, and bishop recaptures, attacking the queen. Now black has to be careful. If, for example, queen captures defenseless pawn on b2, then bishop goes to g5 check. If king goes to e6, then bishop to c4 is checkmate. So the only other move here is rook to f6, defending the check, but then rook goes to e1, preparing discover attack on the king. For example, if here black would play a random move, let's say a6, e pawn simply captures on f6 check, king captures knight, and f7, and white is going to promote. There's nothing black can do. And if, for example, here black king would go back to f8, simply e pawn captures on f6, g pawn recaptures, bishop to h6 check, king to g8, and rook to e8 is checkmate. So in the game, black has decided to return some material. Rook captures, knight on f3 check. Well, white has to be careful. If g pawn recaptures, then f file is closed, closing the vital file for white. So white plays king captures rook on f3, keeping the f file open. Now queen captures pawn on b2. Bishop goes to g5 check. King goes to e6. And now rook to e1. Pawn on e5 is protected, and white threatens with bishop to c4, mate in 1. So black finally plays this b5, preventing this bishop to c4 with mate, but it's more or less all over. Bishop goes to f5 check. King to d5 as there isn't any other options. Bishop to e4 check. King goes back to e6, and now bishop captures rook on a8. Queen goes to c3 check, rook to e3 defending. Still maybe black could try with queen to a1, harassing white king from the first rank, but queen captures pawn on c2, allowing white to play bishop to e4, so white attacks queen with the tempo. Queen goes to d1 check, king to g3. Now white threatens, of course, bishop to h7 with bishop to g8 with checkmate. So black tries with queen to h5, defending this h7 pawn, also attacking bishop on g5, but now h4 seals the fate of black. Bishop on c8 is attacked, there's no way to defend it. If, for example, black would try with bishop to a6, simply bishop would go to f3, attacking the queen, queen to g6, the only option. Rook to a3, attacking the bishop. Bishop cannot go anywhere. One variation is, for example, bishop to b7, bishop captures on b7, king maybe captures pawn on e5, knight captures pawn on b5, then maybe d5, and then rook to e3 check. Of course, queen can defend, but black loses decisive material, and after king to f5, knight to d4 is checkmate. And realizing that all is lost in this position, Arseniy and Nesterov resigned the game. So, I hope you like this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.